Morning, Cochise County, and welcome to the Michael Zehr Show, coming to you live from the Rising Eagle Studios here at the Warrior Healing Center.
Welcome, yep.
So
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. And what's today's date? August 12th?
I believe it is, yeah.
I hope it is, because I forgot to check my watch. And I always say I'm going to check the watch before I go on. And then I sometimes I do, sometimes I don't.
It's on the upper corner of the screen too, so there's your shortcut.
Oh, well,
August 12th.
I'm only sitting right here in front of a monitor.
There's a lot going on. There's a lot going. It looks easy here, let me tell you, but there's a lot going on behind the scenes.
Speaking of a lot going on behind the scenes, I'm glad to see that your baby's getting off the ground, that veteran-owned business. I've watched a couple different streams of that so far.
Yeah, that's kind of fun. It's, when we started doing what we're doing here at the Warrior Healing Center, one of the things I had asked around, who can give us a list of veteran-owned businesses? And especially now that we've gone through, the last 2.5, 3 years of insanity, we know that small businesses, of course, are stretched really, really thin in trying to make ends meet and do their thing. And so we figured, okay, let's get serious about this and see what we can do to help veterans who are running businesses right now. And so we have started just pulling those folks together kind of monthly to get them networking amongst each other, because you know how it is in the military. What do they pound into your heads is take care of your brothers and sisters, right? So take care of your unit, make sure everyone's taken care of. And so, we figured, okay, well, let's start pulling together a list of veteran-owned businesses and reaching out to them and letting them know that, hey, if you guys are interested, let's get creative. Let's think outside the box and find ways to support one another. And so that's the start of this. I really want it to grow. I want us to be able to let folks know not just who are the businesses that are owned by veterans, but which are the businesses that are veteran friendly, and what can we do as a community to really strengthen, because we all know that, in all honesty, Sierra Vista is on the map because of Fort Huachuca. If it weren't for the post here, then I wouldn't be here probably. Yeah, I don't know. Would you be here if it weren't for the No,
no way.
That's what kind of ties everything together. So everybody that's out there running a business knows a veteran, has a veteran family member, has, and we all are grateful to the community for existing and tied together to some level, at some level.
And there's so many veteran-owned businesses out there that probably don't even know that you're, trying to get this like networking or meeting that you're doing here at the center. You do that every month, right?
So we do a meeting every month, but we're starting to put events together. It's veteran-led. It's veterans helping veterans. So we are just kind of facilitating and helping with some of the admin pieces or whatever to pull stuff together.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
But, just trying to get live streams going, trying to get people to know that this is here, who we are and what we do, but more importantly, what's happening in the community and who's out there, who's involved, who's got what strengths, how we can work together, because that's really going to be the key to get through the tough times that we're going through right now. And I'm sure, there are probably some tougher times ahead, just looking at the way things are going right now. So we need to come together as a community and rely on each other to make it through. And that's what makes us stronger. So.
Well, and speaking of live streams, because we have been getting that information out to let veterans at home know that if they had any interest in starting their own live stream, that the studio is available. All they have to do is come in and find out the information on how to go about doing that. But
we will help.
Yes, but one thing I was watching with Robert and Eric on the veteran-owned business stream that's on Thursday nights at 5, and I've been able to watch 2 of them so far. But I think was there only 2 or there was 3?
No, there's been 3 or 4 of them
That's
now.
Right.
The first one was just Tim, just kind of the kickoff, saying what we're doing and all that kind of stuff. But now we're doing a different business each week, and we'll have those people back. It depends on what their needs are, what their events are that are happening, or things that are happening with their businesses. We'll try to strategically line that up so that they can talk about those things and let the other veterans and the community at large know what's happening. So
I could tell you that if I go out and I'm going to a business and I find out that they're veteran owned, that makes me want to even go back to them, or support them even more
because of
the fact that there's that veteran connection.
Right.
And,
well, and that's interesting, Mike. I want to kind of turn the tables a little bit this week. And
uh-oh.
You are here every Friday morning interviewing
Yes.
a different veteran and asking them all these questions. And we want to hear Mike's story. So tell us, Mike, what inspired you to go into the military?
Well, I'm an only child, so I didn't really have any brothers or sisters to kind of, oh, get out of here, Kevin. I don't have anything in my teeth. Kevin's always messing with. So I didn't have like any brothers or sisters. So my cousins were like the closest two brothers and sisters that I had. And
you were an only child.
I was an only child. So, growing up in Illinois, go Cubs, go. We moved out, my dad and mom and I moved out to Phoenix in 74. And I was going to high school in Phoenix, my junior and senior year. And I was so stupid. I mean, I was 18, senior in high school, smoking, cutting classes. I mean, I wasn't arrested or anything like that, but I was, like your typical 18-year-old knucklehead that just made very bad choices.
Well, you were doing what was normal and acceptable at the time based
within
on
the
what
law.
We knew. Right.
Because back then you could smoke at 18.
They had smoking sections for a lot of high schools back then. I mean, even when I was in high school in the early 90s, it was, you knew where to go if you needed to do that. So,
and I quit graduation. I quit high school 1 month before graduation. That's how dumb I was. I know, right?
Why did you do that?
I hated school because it interfered with my socialization time. It interfered with my playing time because I've always been geared more towards that than sitting in a classroom all day.
You were a musical genius, right?
No, I was a class clown. I was the one that surprisingly could never keep his mouth shut in class, getting in trouble all the time, being sent to the principal's office. And back then, your friends would know that when you got to the principal's office, you're going to get whacked.
Yeah.
So that was an embarrassing thing because then everybody knows. Oh,
they had paddles especially for that they kept in the principal's office.
Bend over and grab your ankles. So.
Oh man. So you went almost a full 4 years, and then with 30 days left, you were like, "Yeah, I don't see the purpose of this anymore."
Interfering with my fun.
Oh my goodness.
And
so
I quit, and then I was holding down odd jobs like at Fry's. I was a bag boy. I was a dishwasher at what's it called back then? Bob's Big Boy.
Okay.
I believe
they had one of those here in Sierra Vista.
No, this was in Phoenix. I was still in Phoenix at that time.
Okay.
And I couldn't hold down a job, so I had to take a really hard look at my life. And I was like, Mike, what are you going to do? What do you want to be? And, I hate that. As a kid, everybody always asks you, what do you be when you want to grow up?
It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah. I never knew what I wanted to be because
I
like so many different
what I want to
things.
be. Life's a journey, man.
Yeah. So I ended up making the decision of going into the Army. And I thought, okay, I'm going to check this out. So at first I went to the Air Force.
Yeah.
Because I thought, I don't know why, but that's where we went. We went Air Force. And they wouldn't take me because I had skin cancer here. So they said, no, you're no good. But the Army says, hey, we'll take you. Give us a letter from your doctor, which I got. The Army took me like that. And when I enlisted, you could choose your MOS and you could choose your first duty station.
Okay.
So I chose Hawaii because I'd never been to Hawaii. I thought, oh, that would be a great place to be stationed. And so I was going to be an MP. I was going to be at Schofield Barracks in Hawaii. And I go in. I had basic training at Fort Bliss, Texas. I had a great time at Fort Bliss because I kept my mouth shut. Believe it or not, yes. I kept my mouth shut because I was warned to just do what you're told. And I kind of floated below the radar. So
did you have a fear in you? Like, were you like, I know my limits because I do not want to end up with whatever punishment or embarrassment or whatever. Is that kind of what kept you?
Yep.
Okay.
Because upper body strength definitely wasn't my thing. But at Fort Bliss, they did these thing called ball busters, and that's what they did. They busted your balls. You got down in the crab position, and then you'd kick your legs out, and then you'd spread them, put them together, up, and then that's one. And after you do, I don't know, about maybe 50 of those or so, you're digging a ditch to China, maybe. It's pretty deep. So I went. So
you wanted to avoid the punishment.
Yep.
Okay.
So I went from there. I went through there, and another thing I loved about basic training was I always prided myself on being able to run. And when I got in and we did I believe it was a 26-mile bivouac at that time.
Okay.
And we were coming in from White Sands Missile Range, and I was huffing and puffing. I didn't think I was going to make it. Well, your squad and your platoon, they're all there encouraging you. Come on, you can do this. Come on, you can. We got your back, and that's another thing I loved about the service that I didn't have in civilian jobs.
Sure. That's what I love working in this realm of veterans right now, right? Like, right. You guys are programmed, trained, like it's just been every day of your life while you served, you're working together and working to help the guys that are struggling to make it through. You've got a whole team that's helping you make it through. So that's awesome.
So here I am again. I'm from Illinois. I was born in Peoria, so I in Arizona. Then I go from Arizona to Texas. Then I go from there to Fort McClellan, Alabama. Well, I had never been in the South before, and I stepped off the airplane and the humidity.
Yeah.
Just about. Oh my gosh!
I know what you're talking about.
Horrid there. So I was at MP school at Fort McClellan, and at that time, the female soldiers were still doing basic training there. I don't know if no, because Fort McClellan's closed, but at that time they were. And I was there for about a month maybe, and I had a seizure, right? And I was on a supply detail, and I had a seizure, and then they're like, oh, well, you can't shoot a gun, and you can't drive a vehicle, so you can't, there's no way you can be an MP, because that's two of the biggest things that you have to do as an MP.
Sure, wow. Yeah. So this was a first-time seizure event?
Yeah.
And you had that had to be scary. You had okay. So were they able to kind of diagnose and figure out what was going on with you, or?
Well, I had a spinal tap, which was pretty painful, and then they did a couple other tests. It was done at Anniston Hospital, and the Army was talking about putting me out. That's what was scary. Oh, the medical tests weren't scary. It was the thought of,
what do I do?
My future. Yeah. What am I going to do if they kick me out? This is it. I think I finally found something that's my niche, and they somehow, by the grace of God, let me reclassify. So I went into patient admin and medical records.
Oh, cool.
Fort Sam Houston. And I went there, and I learned how to be 71 Golf, and we took care of medical records, admissions, discharges, pretty much a lot of the administrative things that happen within the hospital. After I completed training, all my classes were going to Europe. All my classmates were going to Europe. And I was like, where am I going?
Yeah. What years are this?
This is in 77.
Okay.
And they still hadn't had a duty assignment for me. So I was like, can I go to Fort Huachuca? Look, I love it here. Don't get me wrong. Cochise County, I love you guys. I love this area and everything. But this is the worst duty station to come to for a first time, at least back then, because the esprit de corps was so, it was ingrained in you. And then you get here and it's like non-existent almost, at least in MedAc.
Yeah.
At least in MedAc. And you'd have these formations. Well, everybody would have formations but us. When we did have a formation, it would be like change of command ceremony, maybe once every year, if that, maybe even longer. It's just, you're taught when you come into the military respect.
Yeah.
And how you respect your ranks, and how you go to parade rest for enlisted, you salute officers. Well, when you got here, and I reported to the Medac barracks, which is at that circle up there up at Fort Huachuca. Can't think of the name of the building, but anyhow, it's right there at the traffic circle on the second floor. I walk in, I go up there, I said, parade rest, I go, Private Zehr reporting. And I said, Specialist Riley, Private Zehr reporting. And he said, well, you can knock that specialist shit off. My name is Bob. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. They did not
They're a little less formal, huh?
Yeah, they did not train me for that. So.
Okay, so what was going on in 77 that was sending all your classmates to Europe?
I have no idea. That's just where they were going for whatever reason.
Okay.
I don't know. And obviously crossed all over Europe, but I don't know. They just didn't have a place for me. Maybe it was because my last name was Zehr, so maybe I couldn't find a place for me. I don't know.
All right. So how long were you stationed at Fort Huachuca?
I was here for 3 years, and then I couldn't re-enlist because they wouldn't let me re-enlist, and that kind of broke my heart because I had planned on making it a career because that's how much I really had liked it. And I thought, okay, I'm gonna re-enlist. I'm gonna get out of this place and go somewhere else. And I go to re-enlist, and my first sergeant and my company commander find out about it and call me in. And needless to say, that didn't go too well. Next thing I know, oh well, you're getting an Article 15. For what? I had no counseling statements, right?
Right.
No, nothing.
So it was just out of
no trouble, just out of the blue, right? Because I wanted to leave. I wanted to enlist, and I was getting married to Gail at the time, and I was gonna re-enlist, and go elsewhere. And they found out about it, and I guess they just didn't want me in for whatever reason. I go to JAG, and they said, "Oh yeah, well, your name's right here on the duty roster," which it wasn't. But anyhow, that's my story. I stayed here. I got out in 1980, applied for VA disability. I got my 30% and worked civil service for quite a few years. I think it was about 15 years. And
what kind of work did you do in civil service?
I did micrographics, where I transferred documents onto microfilm.
Oh, interesting.
I liked that job.
Yeah.
I was a secretary.
Okay.
Yeah, I was a secretary, and and the best job, I loved it because obviously, again, I love to talk. I was a telephone operator. So people would call you. Yeah. People would call you on the phone. Hey, we need to make an Audubon call to Germany. So you schedule it. You make the phone call, and then you call them back, and well, we got your party on the line, and
there you go.
Yeah.
All right. Well.
And one other thing, real quick. While I was doing that, this guy came up to me, Leon Hislop, and he was a DJ, and he just kind of wanted to bring me in on the side, right, to help him out a little bit, and I did, and I fell in love with it because, again, my love of music. I may not be good at singing. I may not be good at, I can't play a guitar or anything like that, but that still doesn't mean that I don't have a love for music.
So that was your start to the DJ world.
Really and I did that for 30 years almost here in Sierra Vista. Did a lot of wedding receptions. I DJ'd at the NCO Club on Fort Huachuca for quite a few years. Desert Lanes, I did the very first Rock and Bowl up there. So
very cool.
Lots of good memories here in Cochise County. So I'm glad that I stayed. But as far as a first duty assignment, I wish I'd have gone somewhere else.
Well, very cool. And what, from all your experience that you did have in the military, what would you share with others who are in the military as a word of advice?
Do what you're told without question. You know, if you don't like what you're told, do it anyways, and then go up the chain of command. That's what it's there for. I, I've seen people that have gotten into a lot of trouble because they won't follow orders.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
and I'm sure that's the same
Military
as
does
today.
not function well if you have
That's right.
folks that are not going to do what
Yep.
you're hired to do, right? So, all right. Well, let's switch gears a little bit.
Yeah, that was interesting. I know you kind of gave me a little heads up on that, but I got kind of perplexed there for a minute or whatever, and I was trying to find the right words, and they just weren't coming out.
We're putting you in the hot seat for a
Yeah,
change.
I guess
Yeah,
so.
now you can
Now I know how
be
it
a little
feels.
more empathetic for
Yes.
for your victims
Yes,
moving forward.
Definitely.
That's good.
Yes.
All right. Well, I think one of the things we would like to talk about as the Warrior Healing Center is, September is coming up, and that is Suicide Prevention Awareness Month.
Right.
And it is a tough topic. Like, just people, it makes people uncomfortable. People don't like to talk about it. We know, obviously, that there is a problem plaguing this nation of veteran suicide.
Now, this Suicide Month, is this Veteran Suicide Month, or is this Suicide Month like nation?
It's not restricted to veterans. It's
Okay.
just it's Suicide Prevention Awareness
Okay.
Month. But we know, looking, at Warrior Healing Center focusing on veterans,
Yes.
we know that veterans are very highly susceptible to suicide.
22 a day.
More than 22 a day. And percentage-wise compared to the normal public, civilian public. I guess you're civilian as a veteran.
Right.
Too. But regardless, veterans are susceptible to it for a lot of reasons. And we feel that we need to talk about it. It is a problem, and in order to solve a problem, you need to identify the problem. You need to lay out what's going on. We need to figure out why are veterans so susceptible, and what can we start putting into place to help fix that. You can't solve the problem if you don't identify it. One of the interesting challenges we've run into here, when we were first experimenting, because the Warrior Healing Center kind of has evolved into what it is. It started out as an experiment. It started out as a dog training operation, right? And then it's kind of been kismet. It's kind of been, the universe is working in ways that have kind of guided us to what we're doing right now.
But isn't that how all great ideas start off? Or with the little tiny, and then the seed, and then it just kind of grows?
Yeah, I mean, we're just going with the flow. We're just following what the calling seems to be. And but early on, so that first year, 2018, we were just kind of figuring out and getting our feet wet and figuring out what was going on, what the landscape was, and what we needed to provide, or what we could provide. 2019, we had some folks, some local influential people come in to try and figure out, who are you guys? What are you guys doing? What's your business plan? What do you want to, what are you trying to accomplish here? And so we sat down with them because we figured this is a good opportunity. Let's, Tim and I were both, I think I've been in Sierra Vista for about 4 years now. Tim's been here about 5 years. So this was, kind of a good way to plug in. But when we started talking about, hey, we want to do something about this veteran suicide problem, it is plaguing the nation. It is literally people are dying, and it's more people losing their lives to their own hand than all of the service members who were killed in the 20 years we were involved in the Vietnam War. It's unbelievable, and nobody's talking about it. You start talking about it and people's eyes glaze over, right? Well, we were very directly told, don't talk about it. Veteran suicide is not something that you guys should talk about. It's not a problem here in Sierra Vista. It's not a problem in Cochise County. We take care of our veterans here. And I'm sorry, but there's nothing that makes Cochise County or Sierra Vista unique from the rest of the country currently in reference to this problem of veteran suicide. As a matter of fact, we may be more vulnerable to it just because of the number of veterans that we have in this part of the country. We have a very high saturation rate per capita of veterans in the state of Arizona and in the country.
Would you say that you're pretty highly trained to deal with our veterans in the community, or get them the resources to get them the mental health or whatever resource it is they
Yeah,
might need?
so we are always learning. We don't claim to know all the answers by any means, but we've got a lot of knowledge here. We've got a lot of education behind us, you know, and the team that we've got put together here, and we've got a constant desire to learn more. So one of the things we've done recently is connected with some faculty at Johns Hopkins University who talks about psychological first aid. And so this, you know, when you look at psychological first aid as defined, you know, by the VA, because it's not a new concept necessarily, but when you look online at psychological first aid and, you know, what's happening in the world of veterans, well, in the world in general about that, they're talking more about like people who go through like natural disasters. So Hurricane Katrina, for example,
Right.
all of these people suffer this horrendous life-shifting, destroying destruction. How do you come through that? How do you come out of that? You've got all these people that are now homeless, that now have lost family members and don't know where they are, that now, you know, all these problems, they're in need of shelter, they're in need of food, they're in need of blanket, they're in need of warmth, they're in need of of emotional support. And to treat that, there's a special type of psychological first aid that you need to learn how to administer. And it's not, you know, medication necessarily. It's not long-term. It's not therapy that goes ongoing. It's what do you do in the midst of a crisis to help reduce the stress of that crisis?
Right.
And what we see here at the Warrior Healing Center is that there are a lot of veterans in the community, but across the nation, in the world, that are going through crises. So it's not a hurricane, but it's like a psychological tsunami, you know, and it's all kinds of different things that veterans are dealing with. Some are getting evicted from their houses. Some are going through, you know, divorce. Some are struggling to find jobs. Some are, you know, like it's all kinds of things that is a struggle for anybody, right? Not just a veteran.
Right.
But we also look at what we're calling veteranology. What are the nuances? What makes veterans extra susceptible to suicide and other, you know, depression, PTSD, all these things? What is it that causes that? And then how can we apply what they need to get through it and to bounce back to being able to be healthy and to be, you know, a positive contributing member of society, right? How do we get them through those challenges? And we could talk for days about this. So we'll try to just keep it high level here to talk about it. But there's all kinds of things. I mean, you know, Mike, from the veterans that you interact with here.
Well, I dealt with one yesterday at the DAV, and I was trying to be very cautious because of the PTSD and not wanting to be insensitive or ask the wrong question. And the veteran that I helped was, he was kind of making me feel better about him. I don't know. It was you just, I don't know. Like, for example, let me ask you this. If I'm a veteran. I'm sitting at home and I'm watching this for the first time, and I'm really suffering with PTSD or any other disease or any kind of mental health, whatever the case may be, and I'm thinking of ending my life. What's the very first thing I should do before I do that?
Come to the Warrior Healing Center. No, I mean, it's not just, and I'm not pushing just the Warrior Healing Center.
They just walk through the front door?
What we want is to train the community. We want to put the Warrior Healing Center into a position where we are a psychological first aid station, right?
I like that
so
answer.
If you are in the community and you are aware of a veteran out there that's struggling, you can send them here and we will help. We will be their team. So the first thing that we're going to do is sit down with each veteran and listen to them with reactive listening. Like, it's not just, hey, you got a problem and we're going to deal with your problem. No, it's, who are you? What are you struggling with? Because every veteran has different circumstances. Every veteran has a different history. Every veteran has a different layers and layers and layers of what has built up baggage wise or whatever else to put them into the situation, and we want to understand that. So it's reactive listening, and it's sitting down with them and saying, okay, talk about, like, tell me what brings you in, tell me how you're doing. And then once they give you some of that information, it's saying, okay, let me make sure I've got this right. This is what I hear you saying. And you tell it back to them in a way to make sure that that communication is happening, and that we are hearing what they need, what they are struggling with. And then, a lot of times when people are in crisis, it is tough for them to know sometimes what resources are out there and available. It's tough for them to put a plan together. They've got so many things going on in here sometimes that they just can't see the forest for the trees, And so it is what we try to do then is be that team for them. So, okay, cool. This is where you're at. Let's do what we can to take the easy steps to alleviate. Let's put the fire out, whatever it is. Okay, you're being evicted tomorrow. Great. We're going to put Beth and her team to work to figure out, is this something that HUD-VASH can work with? Is this something that, we can call the housing authority? We can call your landlord potentially, because sometimes there's unique solutions that just by cutting through red tape and just, hey, let's bring some common sense. Is it something that we need to get you some extra dollars for at the moment? And we can work with the different organizations that want to help veterans to maybe come up with, just to put the fire out, to give you some room to breathe. And then we're going to start tackling, okay, cool. What else is going on that we can help get you on a path where this is not going to be a problem for you next month? Let's get you stabilized and back to where you need to be in a sustainability setting. So there's all kinds of things veteranology wise that make veterans susceptible to PTSD and depression and thoughts of suicide. There's the problem. I think one of the reasons people don't like to talk about suicide is because people are afraid that idea is, people copy it, right? And we've seen that happen before, right? Like somebody kills himself and then there's kind of a chain reaction where, okay, well, it's okay for that person, maybe it's okay for me.
Well, and then here's the other issue too, is you mentioned the VA, and I think that they've done a lot of great strides in becoming better. But as far as treating our veterans and actually listening to them, I think they could still get a lot better at it, because I know of 2 cases where veterans have gone in from our community, and one is no longer with us, and one is the person I was speaking about yesterday that said, I went into the VA and I just don't want to deal with them anymore. They said it was a horrible experience for them.
The VA,
and I'm not throwing the VA under the bus.
No. Well, there's a couple of things. One, let me go back to just a second before I switch to the VA. One is, we want to change the attitude about veteran suicide in general, right? It is not okay to take your own life. It is not okay to do that. When you do that, you are stealing life. You are taking from the people that are here behind you that then have to pick up your load and carry it because you're no longer here doing that. So times get tough, times suck, things are hard. We need to get you out of your head, and we need to get you plugged into the resources with a team. And that's the psychological first aid, part of it. That's part of what we're doing here. So, and that is a big pivot, right? It is not okay. We're not going to say that it's okay if somebody takes their own life. We're not going to sit here and cry and say nice things about them having done that, because no, that is bullshit, quite frankly. You cannot be relieved of your duty before the maker tells you it's your time. You cannot make that decision. You need to carry on. And we are here as a resource. We are here as a team, and we will do that with you. So just reach out, get that human contact, get that piece that you need to be able to keep taking the next steps forward. There are resources out here for you. You are not alone. There are a lot of people that are dealing with similar struggles. No matter how bad you think it is or how alone you feel, you are not alone. There are people here that can help. The VA, I agree with you. There are a lot of veterans who are very frustrated with what happens in the VA. I think there's a lot of reasons for that. One is the expectation of the veteran to show up on the VA doorstep and say, fix me, and be frustrated when that doesn't happen. Well,
Okay.
great, but I think part of it is expectation and knowledge challenges, right? So there are things that the VA does that the VA is very good at doing, but also the VA is a huge government bureaucracy. And that's why I think the answer to veteran suicide does not lie with the VA.
Right.
It can't.
It lies with us.
They cannot give you that human connection, that individualized. I mean, they've got people that are doing great things and that are working. They've got counselors, they've got therapists that are doing great things and helping a lot of veterans. But they can't help everyone. They can't fix the veteran suicide problem because that needs to happen at the community level. And I'm hugely passionate about this as a civilian because I didn't know there were all these problems that veterans are facing. And then, like I started learning a little bit and thinking, okay, well, yeah, of course veterans are facing certain challenges that are different from the rest of us because of what they've been through, obviously. But it wasn't until I came down here and was literally hit in the gut. Like we had a friend who was discharging his firearm inappropriately in an attempt for suicide by cop. That was a huge punch in the gut for me to like sit down and watch the process and understand what was going on for that veteran at that time, what followed. Just watching how that whole thing unrolled was really illuminating to me. We had another instance where we met a homeless veteran who had been living in his car for like years and met him the day before his 80th birthday and finally found him. We'd been looking for him for a few months because the cops had come by and told us about him. But it took a while to find him. We found him, got him out of his car and into a hotel immediately. And then the next morning, Tim and I went over to chat with this veteran. And he had been homeless for so long, he didn't have his papers, whatever. He needed his DD-214.
Right.
This is a couple of years ago. This is early on. This was our first case like this. And so we're like, okay, great. Let's go over to the VA and see if we can't get a hold of your DD-214. The veteran didn't want to do that. It took us 3 to 4 hours that morning in his hotel room, just talking with him, just convincing him to come with us so that we could get started, because all of you veterans know the DD-214 is your piece that proves you're a veteran and that shows what you did, and it's the starting point in order to get access to resources and services that are available out there. And so we wanted to make that the first step. Well, after 3.5 hours of cajoling this guy to come with us, we all walk into the local CBOC office, and we sign in and sit down, and then as I'm sitting there, Tim's like, hey, look at that. I look up, and sure enough, on the wall, there's a piece of paper that says, hey, if you're here, if you're a veteran that's looking to get your DD-214, we'll do that between the hours of, 7:30 and 10 and, like 11 to noon or whatever. And I'm looking at my watch thinking, oh my God, it's like 11:40 right now. I swear to God, if they do not help us after we spent, the last several months looking for this guy, and then the 3.5 hours this morning just trying to get him to come with us, I'm going to get on the counter and scream and lose it, because you can't treat people like that. I mean, like it's so antithetical to what is needed, but it's also a business and they're trying to get their stuff done, and they've got their processes and things like that. But that's such a challenge to overcome. And that's why you've got veterans that are just like in crisis, needing help. And then they're met with, well, we can't do this. We can't get you in. It's Friday night. We can't get you an appointment with somebody that can help you until Monday morning at the earliest, but usually it's weeks before they can get you in if you're trying to schedule an appointment or something. So the answer cannot be that the VA is going to solve veteran suicide. It's got to be the community. It's got to be. And me as a civilian, the fact that I was so oblivious to all of this that was going on. I was an RN in school I did my nursing school at Arizona State. I spent a semester at the local VA working with veterans. But I came out of that situation thinking, all right, well, yeah, veterans have problems, but hey, they got programs, they got the VA, no problem, right? And it wasn't until I came down here and met the veterans that I was just talking about, like how messed up it is. Like there are just hoops and challenges, and sometimes what seems like really stupid, unnecessary challenges. You've got all these organizations in Cochise County that are here to help veterans because we have so many veterans and so many people that are struggling, and people realize that veterans are taking their own lives, right? And they realize that there's problems. And so you've got all these groups that want to help veterans, but they're not really doing it effectively. They're all doing it individually, some of them out of their kitchen, some of them, you've got the DAV, and you've got the VFW, and you've got the American Legion, you've got some other groups that are bigger groups that are looking to help, but really they haven't evolved to a point where they're able to collaborate well together, talk amongst themselves, know which, because sometimes you've got veterans that abuse the system too, right? Like you've got some folks that have really only served 2 years that are hitting up. They know how to work the system, and they're going from group to group to group to get whatever they can out of it.
Or stolen valor. I mean, there are people that claim that they,
There's a lot of that. A lot of the folks that are on the street spinning signs, when, send them to us. If you are looking for how to help these, veterans that are out in front of the stores, send them to the Warrior Healing Center, and we will vet them. We will make sure that they're, that they are a veteran. We will make sure that they get the services and the resources that are available to them. But we are also needing to work together with all these groups so that we can identify and say, hey, maybe be on the lookout for this guy because he may be more, I don't want to say more trouble than he's worth, but there are limited resources available to help folks that really need and deserve the assistance. And we don't want to spend an enormous amount of our resources helping folks that, couldn't even make it through training, perhaps, in the military. There are other resources that we can point them to. We're never going to turn anybody away. If there is somebody that is homeless, if there's somebody that is, in need of whatever kind of help they need, there are resources in the community, but we're going to try to reserve the veteran resources and the skills that we're accumulating here for the people that have served and really have earned those benefits.
Didn't you tell me Cochise County is the biggest population in the state of veterans, and we got more people coming in all the time?
It's more veterans per capita here in the state. We're the most, and I think we're like 5th in the nation or something like that. Just because I think it's just the the big expanse of desert area out here. It's just seems really appealing to certain veterans to maybe go set up off grid in an RV or whatever they want to do.
Or friends tell them about it. Hey, come on down here.
It's good nice weather. It's good scenery. It's peaceful. There's all kinds of reasons why people like to come out here. But, some of those veterans have been doing that for decades now. And we all know veterans are not known for asking for help.
Nope.
They're trying to take care of issues on their own. And some of them have some issues that have built up over a long time that they need assistance with, because now they're getting older and their RVs are falling apart or their trailers are falling apart or whatever the case may be. And so we're trying to make sure we've got resources available, or we can hook folks up with appropriate resources to kind of help them through that stuff too, because we've had some tragic cases. We had a veteran, I think it was about 1.5 years ago now, who ended up losing his life because he was using a propane heater inside his single wide inappropriately, but his heat wasn't working, his electricity wasn't working, and he was trying to keep warm. And of course, there was an explosion, there was a fire, and he died after that explosion in the hospital. It's a terrible story. And so we want to help prevent things like that from happening by coming together as a community, by figuring out what resources are available, by utilizing those resources appropriately, like I said, and that's part of the piece where we're trying to improve communication amongst these groups. Because we're not in this for accolades. We just want to help veterans. That's our only focus. And so we will do what we can to work with all these groups. I really see potential for stronger kind of coalitions of all these groups working together across the county. We're trying to get things stronger here in Sierra Vista. We're trying to pull in folks from Bisbee and Benson and all the different areas. But right. I want it all the way out to Douglas. I want to really build those relationships. So we're working towards doing that.
Well, that's great. Great news. So what else is, that's what I was going to tell you about. If I can't come in or like help out as far as like I'm not trained for veteran suicide or something like that, but I want to help, what can I do?
Well, the Warrior Healing Center has received some budgeting from the state. They wrote us in. We've got money that's appropriated to us for this coming year to spend on veteran suicide prevention. And so we've kind of created a budget, and we're working with local organizations, MOA and VFW and American Legion, like all these bigger groups. We're pulling in so that we can work together on how to spend that money well across the county for veterans that need it. But one of the things that we want to start doing is putting together programs now and get some training. Because as a psychological first aid station here, we want to train not just the people volunteering here at Warrior Healing Center, although that's number one, we want to get us trained, but we want to make this available to folks in the public who are out there and running into neighbors or coworkers or, other just veterans that are struggling. And we want people to be able to recognize this person's struggling. This person needs a hand, and maybe they're resistant to looking for help, but let's sit down with them and have that basic interaction to try and do some reflective listening and figure out what's happening, and then steer them to the resources that are available. So we want to create some training programs so that folks can learn how to be responsive when there's crises happening. So if you are looking to, you want to volunteer, we've got all kinds of things that we're doing here at the center. We're just trying to keep things moving forward and create opportunities. And it's amazing when I pull my head up out of the weeds. Sometimes it's just like, holy crap, there's a lot going on, but it's going on because there's a lot of people in the community that want to help and make things happen, which is awesome. So we're just trying to facilitate.
And I hope that people realize too, that everything that you guys are providing to them is at no cost to the veteran. At no cost.
Yeah, that's the goal, is that this is available at no cost, but it's cheap. I mean, we want Cochise County to be proud of what's happening here because this is unique and it is not costing the government here anything. So what we want is to be, run by grants, run by private donations, the 22 to End 22 campaign. We want the community to feel like they own the Warrior Healing Center.
And speaking of that, I personally contribute to that, and I would like to challenge everybody that's watching this to also donate that $22 a month.
Thanks, Mike. So no, it's that's what will keep us going. Honestly, if we can if you think of it like, all right, this guy Mike, he served our country how many years?
Only 3.
3 years. Yeah. You served your country. You did not end up doing what you wanted to do or where you wanted to do it, but you did what you were told.
Yes.
You followed the rules and did what you were supposed to do, right? It's not always an easy place to be.
Yep.
I feel like the least I can do is ironically buy you a cup of coffee a week, Mike.
Gee.
If I buy you a cup of coffee a week, that kind of is equivalent to, our 22 program. So 22, especially obviously the number, $22. 22 is the number that the VA has counted of suicides a day. Now that number changes, obviously. I'm going to go off on a rant, and I don't want to go off on a rant, but really that number is undercalculated because the VA, so first of all, there's no coroner. Did you guys know that? There is no coroner
in Cochise County. Yes, I knew that.
No coroner. When we talked to the sheriff a couple years ago, like, hey, how do we find out what the numbers are? We want to benchmark this. We want to know if we're making a positive impact or not. How many veteran suicides are happening here? They can't tell us. They've got a list of 911 calls about suicide, but not veteran suicide, right? He said you'd have to sit down and go through a stack of paper and flip through and figure out which ones are veterans and which ones aren't. So that has not been done. There's nobody counting what's going on. If we need a coroner in Cochise County, we call down from Tucson, or call up to
Pima
Tucson.
County.
Pima
Yep.
County sends their coroner to handle the situations that need coroners. So huge gap. Like what we at the Warrior Healing Center would love is, hey, let's get serious and start tracking what is going on. The VA counts veteran suicides, right? That's how they came up with this 22 number. But they count only the veterans who leave a note. And they do that for a lot of different reasons. One is there's a huge stigma attached to suicide. And when somebody dies from suicide that's a veteran, the family then loses the ability, like they don't get the funeral benefits, they don't get things that they otherwise would have earned because it's a suicide. And
if it's a disabled veteran and they're getting compensation, that money stops.
Yeah. So there's a lot of benefits, reasons why, and the socially, it's just such a tough situation, and it's hard. People think and it probably is harder on the family, if we call it a suicide than if we call it, death by misadventure. If somebody dies from jumping off a bridge and there's, not a note left, let's just say this is death by misadventure, because then it's not suicide stigmatized. It makes it easier on the family. And then benefits and things like that they would get, they can still continue to get. Well, okay, so that doesn't count drug overdoses. It doesn't count death by too much alcohol. It doesn't count single vehicular accidents. It doesn't count people jumping off bridges. It doesn't count all of these things. And I understand, why they do that. They want to be very, very certain that it's in fact a suicide before they call it a suicide. But that just tells us that 22 a day is probably much more. And when you pull into account the geopolitical stuff that is happening, look at what's happened in the last couple of years. This withdrawal from Afghanistan and the way that the whole disaster that happened there, you now have, I don't even know how many veterans. I should dig that number up to find out how many veterans have served in Afghanistan and have lost brothers and sisters in arms in that fight, who are reeling right now. They are. I mean, I see it with Tim. Like when that was going down, oh my God, he could not get out of his head. It was horrible, and it still is horrible, because that's a direct attack on identity. That's a direct attack on like the whole survivor's guilt thing that we don't talk a whole lot about. It's all kinds of things that these veterans are now like, oh my God.
And it is very hard to get a veteran to open up about these issues, whether, for their PTSD. Like, for example, if they were in Iraq or Afghanistan and one of their buddies was killed over there, it's very hard to get them to open up because, like, again, I'll refer to the veteran I was talking with yesterday. He said it's very hard for me to talk about, and I try not to. So,
because it opens that wound for them,
yes.
Right? I mean, basically.
Then he started crying, and it just broke my heart.
Yeah, and that's one of the challenges we have too in dealing with veterans here is we need to be listening, we need to be receptive, responsive, we need to try to get to what's going on, right? But we also need to be careful to not be digging and opening wounds and then okay, see you later. Tim talks about, he's tried the therapy route, and that's a big challenge for veterans that have been through really significant traumas, right? Because you need to sit down and have therapy. You need to start talking about what you went through and share that with the therapist. But you're on a clock, and it's, you sit down and you do your informal, like soft talk or whatever at the beginning to greet and whatever, and then you get into it and you just start uncovering stuff, start pulling that scab off, and then boom, sorry, 55 minutes have elapsed, your time is up.
Next patient,
we'll see you next week. Yeah, and it's like, what does that do to the veteran then? It's and granted,
it doesn't make them feel significant.
And I'm not saying that every type of therapy is like that, but I am saying that does exist. Mm-hmm. He has experienced that several times with different therapists. And it's a challenge, right? Like what we need is something different, something better to handle this stuff, because the things that our veterans have been through in combat are often really deep, really tough, and they need, I think one of the things I really like, let me go that route. The VA Vet Center from Tucson comes down here weekly to spend time at the center.
Yes.
And what I understand from the veterans that participate in some of the groups that they work with there, it's, you don't have to talk about your trauma. It's not about reliving the trauma. It's about, let's connect you, let's help you to hone the coping mechanisms that will help you get through it, that will help you get through the day to day, because you'll have these abilities to handle the stresses that are, you're dealing with, to handle, like folks dealing with PTSD. One of the things we have to remind our volunteers sometimes is, no, don't grab them by the arm as they're walking down the hall. Don't grab veterans, because you never know what you're going to get, right? Or don't stand right behind them. Don't do the things that, we sometimes aren't thinking about as civilians. And even as veterans, some of our veterans aren't thinking about this either sometimes if they haven't experienced it themselves. So it needs to be, a safe, responsible, we need to be aware that there are folks that are potentially on the edge at times, and we want to not be doing anything that's going to trigger more challenges for them.
Well, I implore you, if you're watching this, to please come in to the Warrior Healing Center. When you walk in the doors, there's going to be somebody right there at the front desk, hopefully, because I don't know who's there right now. But
Tim's up there right now, unless someone's relieved him. Yep. We all wear mini hats here, so
but you walk in the front door, and there's a smiling face to greet you. And if it's your first visit, you'll be asked to do an intake form. And on the intake process, how does that work? When they come in, they fill out the intake form. What happens after that?
So they're going to call it. They're going to fill out the welcome form or intake form, and that just gives us basic information about who you are, how to contact you, and what's going on, what kind of help you might be looking for. Okay. And then the next step after that is provided to Beth and her team, to Beth, because the first thing you're going to do is meet with Beth, and she's amazing. She is 20 years the wife of a combat injured, multiple Purple Heart recipient. She's been through it all, and she does a great job of just kind of sitting down and working with the veteran to unpeel the layers and figure out, okay, what are the fires that we need to start with, and what are the other things that you need some support with that we can help with. And then she helps by contacting and plugging you into the appropriate resources. So we'll hook you up and have a case manager if needed. And then, you've got a team at that point kind of working through. So if you come in and fill out a welcome form for us, one of the things we ask is, hey, what is your current stress level? If you are red and you are thinking about harming yourself or others, I do not want you walking back out that door without sitting down and talking with one of us. So communicate that, to the person at the front desk, and our volunteers at the front desk will be able to work their magic and let us know, and we'll figure out how to have somebody sit down and work with you immediately. If you are dealing with some things that it's not quite as urgent or pressing, then give it a day or two, and Beth will give you a call. We'll get you on the calendar, and we'll come in and do that process. And then, so that's the first step, is the welcome form, the triage with Beth, and then you'll get connected with a case manager and somebody that will be able to help make sure, not just connect you with the resources, but work with you, alongside you, help you with the questions that you have, help you with any extra support that you may need to deal with those steps, the hoops that you're going to have to jump through. We're going to be there with you, helping to do that, because that's one thing that we think is so cool, is this Warrior Healing Center. We are constantly growing and learning and figuring out the hoops and navigating these, crazy paths that you have to walk through in order to get the things that you need. And so we're holding on to that knowledge, and we want to share that with you. We want to use that to help you get to what you need more efficiently and effectively.
And when you fill out that intake form, the information that's given to Beth or you or Tim, that stays here in the center. It doesn't go to the VA. It doesn't go out to anybody else.
Okay, so on the form, we ask you if we can use that information to share with the folks, the resources in the community that can help you. Okay. So yeah, it stays private. We have a database system where we track stuff. So we've kind of created this system that's kind of our electronic veteran record for the veterans that we work with. But it is private. The only people that are tagged onto your case are the ones that are actively working to help you. Okay. So it does not get widespread. It does not, we've got...
I asked that because there are a few veterans that I've talked to that didn't want to fill one out because they did not want the VA.
We don't share the information with the VA.
Why, yeah.
We definitely do not do that. We are not tied to the government. We give the VA Vet Center an office in here to use once a week so that they can see their clients and do things. We are looking to help the veteran. That's all we're looking to do. And we are not sharing your information other than big numbers, right? Like if we're applying for grants, we'll say, hey, we've got this many people that we helped by, the food pantry helped this year. And we've got this many people who, have come in for PTSD meetings, but there is no specifics whatsoever. And we refuse. As a matter of fact, I will tell you that there was an opportunity for a grant with the VA recently that was, I think it was like $750,000 over 3 years or something like that. But we did not apply for it because one of the things they wanted was, if you're going to get this money, you need to utilize the VA intake form to do this and share that information. If somebody comes in and is threatening self-harm or harm to others, you need to shuttle them directly to the VA. Well, I'm sorry, but
that's not what
the VA is not what our veterans are comfortable with. And this is the whole thing about, we need to be the psychological first aid station. And then we will, of course, refer folks to the VA if that's appropriate for that veteran and that veteran wants to do that. Of course, we're not going to force you to do anything you don't want to do. Obviously, we're going to try to work together to find something that works for you. But yes, we will not share information to the point where we turn down the opportunity to apply for this huge grant because that was one of the conditions. And we're like, no, we are not government affiliated. We have a local senator that wrote us into getting that money for the coming year for suicide prevention. But, there's been some back and forth going on related to that. And he made it very clear. He wants us to have that money to utilize to the best of our ability to keep it close to the veterans. He doesn't want us, participating in a contract that's going to require all kinds of ridiculous reporting and stuff up. So we will report, hey, this is how the money was spent, but there's no specific information that goes anywhere. We are not sharing any personal information anywhere. As a matter of fact, we ask all the veterans to come in to give us a copy of their DD-214. That gets sanitized. We make sure that we're taking off things like, the social security number, whatever else, and then we'll store it into our system where we can have it so that you only have to bring it in once to get help from all these different organizations.
Right.
Then you don't have to worry about bringing in, 26 different copies to see all these different people. You can come into the building, we'll help you with housing, we'll help you with job, the whole array of things that we can help you with here. But it is also something that you have to, as a veteran, give us permission to do. We are not going to share your information. If you give us permission, which is kind of necessary in order to get the help from the resources, if you check that box that says, yes, you have my permission to share with groups to get the help that I need, then we will share your information with those very few select people that are involved in providing you the help that you need.
And then also coming in the front door is another thing that they can do is volunteer, because I know we're always looking for volunteers, right?
Of course, yeah. Everybody's always looking for volunteers, right?
Yeah.
We are looking definitely for volunteers. Our ideal, we love it when we get veterans coming in. We love it when we get veterans who have been helped previously coming in and offering that hand back to new veterans. We love it when we have veterans who currently have their ducks in a row and don't have any problems weighing on their mind coming in and doing what they do, which is taking care of their unit, right? Taking care of their brothers and sisters in arms. We are looking to veterans for leadership. We are looking to veterans because you get it, you've been there. And that's really important to the veterans that are coming in that are in crisis, is if they have a veteran that they're sitting down and working with, then that connection is made. That level of trust is almost there immediately. It just is so helpful to have that.
Well, I can't tell you how many veterans come in either for the lunch sometimes when we have the Fun Food Friday, or sometimes people just come in and sit in the lounge back there and take a nap or drink something. I mean, that's what it's there for. It's for people to be able to come in when they want to have kind of like a little baby wind down or a little socialization with other veterans. So I really encourage any of you that are able or watching this at home, if you'd like to volunteer, or your spouse, or maybe your neighbors, your friends. You don't have to be a veteran, right?
We are open to ideas. We want to make things work. So, and we want, come on in. If you've got an idea that you want to see take off, we can help you out. We can figure out, we can help you perhaps with administrative stuff. We can help you perhaps with, we've got a group plug, the Cochise Linux user group that can, get computers donated potentially if you need that, maybe some office space. We can look at, ways to help you facilitate what you need in order to get your idea off the ground. And it's all kinds of stuff. I get excited. We were talking yesterday with a veteran that wants to create some kind of a guild where veterans get together to help each other at their homes with projects that they're working on.
Wow.
And they just need, this is in its early nascent stages where we're just talking about the ideas right now. So I don't want to blow his idea and share it too much, but it's really exciting to hear that, because this is pulling people together, giving them purpose, giving them cooperation, opportunity to do different things. And it's cool. It's not like I want to emphasize the Warrior Healing Center is not just for veterans who are in crisis.
Right.
It's for strengthening our community as a whole.
Come on in. Let's play cards, man.
We've got the military library that's been kind of, like some of our activities, I wish they would move faster than they do, but we've just got so many things that we're juggling. But we've got this room set up as a military library. I still need to get the uniforms up on the wall. We still need to get the books. We've got a librarian that's talking about coming in to help us kind of get the books organized better. But there's tables in there. There'll be chairs in there. We can start, that can be set up as a game room. People can play checkers. We've got a guy that wants to come in and start doing a dominoes thing weekly. Awesome.
Oh, wow.
Come on
dominoes,
in and do that,
Yeah. Come on down.
So it's just a place. I mean, it's just a hub. That's all we're trying to be. And, we're going to work hard behind the scenes to make stuff happen, but we are willing to talk about whatever. We're willing to work with whomever. As long as it's on the up and up and you are helping veterans, that's all our goal is, and helping the society as well, like the community at large.
And there's always a fresh, cold beverage in the refrigerator.
We've got people that donate drinks for us. Coca-Cola sometimes donates some stuff for us. We've got individuals. We've got a veteran. This is an anonymous person, so I haven't been told who it is yet. We haven't caught him yet, but they drop off packages of water for us every week, and that is, oh my gosh, thank you. That is
huge.
That is huge. You don't know how much that helps. Decaf coffee we're running low on right now, so we need to get the word out for that. But if folks can donate some of that, I think we're pretty good on the regular stuff,
on the leaded. We need the unleaded.
But we're just always looking in. We've got a garden in the back. I mean, it's whatever it is. If you are looking for something to do or some purpose, we can put you to work here for sure. Yeah.
And I could probably go on talking to you for probably another hour or so, but I know we're probably
we could talk for
about
days.
An hour and 10 minutes in already.
Yeah.
What do we have here? Any other closing notes or anything?
No, I think
we
talked about suicide prevention. We talked about veteranology. We didn't really get into kind of what the solution is totally. We talked kind of on the side about it. There's an event coming up next week that's the stand down, and that I think is it's good intention. It's a good idea. It's politically, what's the word I'm looking for? Convenient, I guess. Like we get the mayor and stuff to show up. It gives everybody a good feeling of rah, 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 we're doing great things for the community. But that is one day a year out of
Correct.
365 days.
So where's the 364 other days?
Right. What
here?
does a veteran do when they're in crisis? The analogy that we've kind of thrown around here is it's like a phone booth, right? Like in the 1900s, phone booths started popping up, and that was great because you didn't have phones, you didn't have access to things, you didn't have the ability to call someone. All of a sudden, you've got phone booths that are popping up. Well, that's great, but you had to know who you're calling, you had to know the phone number, you had to have coins on you, and you had to be in the vicinity of a phone booth to use it. And if they wanted to call you, man, you really got a plan for that, right?
Yep.
So we look at kind of that event as cool. You're going to put all these groups together for one day, which is great, but let's hope that there's a lot of veterans out there who need that help on that day. What we see is what we're doing is more, the answer to suicide prevention is community. Correct. And it's persistence. It is persistent presence. And so the persistent presence is more like what we've got today, which is the cell phone. It's evolved. Mm-hmm. Times have evolved. And you've got a cell phone in your pocket that is not just an ability to talk with people that no longer you need to feed coins into. You don't even need to remember numbers. You've got speed dial, right?
Yep.
But
or favorites.
Yes, but it also
yes, Kathy, you're on my favorites here. I'll show you one of these days. You and Tim.
It's a computer in your pocket,
yes,
right? Like you've got the ability to do your banking, to watch yep. TV, to listen to the radio, to podcasts, to send emails, to communicate in all these different ways.
Facebook.
Right, and it's there. It's when you need it. You've right. got it, and yes. it is there, and it is persistent. And whether you need it once or you need it 100 times, if you go and use it today, it'll be right there next week when mm-hmm. you need to follow up and get the follow-up care. So we have challenges, we're working with all these different groups, and we really want collaboration and to work together. Woo! Coffee spill, sorry. We really want to work together, but we need to evolve also, because this right. veteran suicide problem has been going on for decades, and it's been getting worse. The VA
not better.
Has been tackling this with a committee for 10, 12 years now. The problem is getting worse, not better. So the change that's needed is the community. We need to talk about the problem. People need to be aware of the problem. They need to know what the solutions are, what the resources are. B, the resources that are out here need to collaborate and work together, and yes. be persistent. So, and the event I struggle with because it creates noise. It creates this illusion that there is a lot of good things being done for veterans, right? They have this event, whatever. Well, yeah, that's one day a year. We need something that is better than that. We need to be better. We need to do maybe smaller ones several times a year, or right. come work with us at the center yep. and let's evolve and change what we're doing so that you can be part of the team to help on a daily basis, because that's really what's needed, because all of these veterans out here are experiencing different personal psychological tsunamis on their time, depending on what's happening in their life, depending on what's going on. It's not going to be at the time that's needed. And so the smartphone is having all the resources together, coordinating together, collaborating together, sharing the information as needed so that they can be more efficient, they can be more effective, there can be follow through. It's like the Rona team that we've got making phone calls to veterans on a regular basis. Yep. You need that follow through. You can't just say, hey, hi veteran, here I am today. This is your problem. Okay, go here and get this done. There's a lot of veterans that aren't even going to be able to take that initial step to go here and get that done, especially when you start throwing in the hurdles and the hoops that they have to navigate sometimes to get that help. They need a team. They need somebody with them. So, great, rah, cool. I mean, whatever. We'll be there. We'll help because it's an opportunity to help veterans, and we'll pull in the veterans to, hopefully there will be more veterans coming. The last few years that we've gone, there's been more providers than veterans. So again, it's a networking opportunity, and it's a good chance, to talk and see people and do the things that you need to do. But what we need is the cell phone option, the persistent presence, the collaboration, the willingness to work together, the willingness to adapt and change over time because we evolve as a community, we evolve as a society. The veterans problems are big and evolving. Let's figure out how to stay ahead of that instead of being stuck in our ways.
This will be the second event that I attended, and last year it was at the Sierra Vista Mall, and I thought it was pretty cool there because they had a lot of like booths and food vents and stuff outdoors, if I remember correctly, and you would catch a lot of veterans going to the mall, whether they were going in there to walk or shop or go to a movie, who knows, that didn't even know that was going on.
Oh yeah, bring in more people.
Yeah,
it was an interesting location to have it for sure.
So if you're going this year, it's at the Ethel Berger Center.
Oh yeah,
so
yeah.
If you're going there, you have to know that you're going there for that.
Yeah, and hopefully they're doing a good job. We will put the word out to let people know that event is happening. And again, we just want to help veterans. So if we can do that by getting them the help that day, that's great. That the people that show up that need that help, awesome. But also know that we want to work together to do this more persistently. We want to do this to make sure that we're continuing to work as a teammate for the veterans that do show up and need help, that it's not just a one day thing. So we're evolving, and that's a good thing. That's a really, really positive opportunity. And it's just being available when the veteran needs the help. That's the key. I
think instead of putting the organizations first, we need to be putting the veteran first.
Yeah, and I think we do that.
I said organizations, plural, so.
Yeah.
All of them. So.
No. And I think as a general rule, I think everybody that's out here looking to help veterans, for the most part, in their hearts, they're coming from the right spots, right?
Right.
But yes, that is the key focus, is what do we do to help the veteran that needs help? What do we do as a community to come together and help the veterans that need help? It's always about the veterans. I don't care. Don't even get me started. We could talk for hours about, awards and halls of fame and stuff like that I just am like, dude, there is work to be done. Let's do the work. This is ridiculous to me. And I say that I'm going to qualify that. This is me coming at it as a civilian. I know there are incentives sometimes I've seen like all the coins and the medals and the things that happens in the military. And I get that there's reason to utilize that stuff. But I just look at it as there's work to be done. When I was working in a job that I got paid for, I was like, I don't need recognition. Just give me my paycheck. That's my recognition. Here, I think it's just we're definitely not getting paid. This is 100% volunteer, but it's the satisfaction. Every time I am pulling my hair out saying, oh my God, why are we doing this?
And I would like
let me just finish. Somebody comes through the door to tell us this is why you're doing this. Because
that's what I was going to say. It is all volunteer.
Yeah, it's volunteer.
Everybody in this building is all volunteer.
The faces, the people, the veterans that have, we literally have veterans whose lives have been turned around 180 degrees, and they are stable now. They are doing things. We had one case, oh my gosh, it was probably about 2 years ago now, that came in there where I was like, I don't even want to take this guy on because he is in here talking to us and he's high on meth, and it's hard to, I'm an RN, and I was like, I can't handle talking to this guy right now. He's making me crazy. And I think Beth was of the same persuasion. Like, do we really want to take this guy on? This is a lot, right? Tim stepped in and said, no, we are definitely taking this guy on, and here's what we're going to do. And we'll see what he does. First thing I'm going to do, go get your hair cut, because this guy was all scraggly. We had talked to the local police, who told us, we had been taking bets on when he was going to show up face down in a ditch, no longer breathing, because, he was a constant kind of menace to the community, using drugs, and, he was homeless and all these challenges. He now is working a job that he's been at for a while. He is totally got his ducks in a row. He puts on a podcast to help people understand the ins and outs of what life is like when you're homeless.
Oh, wow.
He's done all these really amazing things. And it's, 2 years later, and for us, it was like, all right, here he comes again. You know, like we would, excuse me, we were drug testing him regularly. You know, like that was part of the agreement. Like it's not just come in and take use of our services. If we're going to give you some services, great. There are certain standards that you're going to have to adhere to because we want to make sure that you're successful moving forward. And we understand that, you know, drugs are one of the ways that veterans go because it helps to numb the hardships, the pain, whatever. But clearly you can't have a fulfilling, awesome life when you are a slave to drugs, right? Like it's got to be, we've got to get you clean of that. And he happened to be ready. You know, he was an addict at the time. He came in and said, I'm going to pop positive on this drug test. And we're like, cool, that's fine. We know. Thanks for being honest. The deal is, though, every week when we test you, you better not test positive anymore. Once that's out of your system, stay clean. And he has. And now, you know, like we don't even see him very much anymore because he's got a job where he's traveling around doing stuff.
That's
so
great.
When we get people like that, that is what
makes you guys feel like it's worth it. I mean,
totally. That's why we're doing it. It's like, okay, fine. We'll keep doing it, you know, because it is hard work. This is not, no good deed goes unpunished. Oh my God, for sure. We see that and feel that regularly, but there is also a lot of good out there, and there's a lot of good. And it's not, you're right. It's not about the organization. We don't care about that. What we care about is
the veteran.
Help the veteran. Yeah.
And or family.
And
because I know you do the family too.
Yeah.
I've had some widows and widowers that have come in and that aren't veterans that are also eligible for some help and assistance.
Yep.
So.
All right. Well, I am actually supposed to be meeting somebody at 10:30.
All right.
I just looked at the time, so
yeah,
I need to get out of here.
Again, we could probably keep going for another hour or so.
Easily.
I'm going to go ahead and read the events while you skedaddle real quick.
Yeah,
Thanks, Kathy, for sitting down with me this morning.
You bet. We'll do it again. I'm going to come back and clean up the spill, and then I'll be out of here.
All righty. So today, Friday, August 12th, our events are grand opening and a ribbon cutting that's going to be happening at the Dragon's Keep Inn, Store, and more. And that is in Tombstone. Also today, starting at 17:30 and going to 20:30, we have the RWB Bisbee Stairs and Dinner. And that's going to be taking place at 200 Tombstone Canyon, 200 Canyon Road in Bisbee. Tomorrow, starting at 0700, the Velo Vets will be meeting at Pueblo del Sol to do their ride. And also on Saturday, starting at 0930, going to 1030, is a weekly PMCS group that meets right here in the Warrior Healing Center. And on Sunday, August 14th, starting at 1300 hours, going to 1400 hours, we have the Wild West Detachment Marine Corps League. It's going to be taking place at the American Legion, Post 24 in Tombstone, Arizona. On Monday, August 15th, starting at 17:30 and going to 18:30, we have the 5 Treasures of Qigong. That too will be taking place right here at the Warrior Healing Center. And on Wednesday, August 17th, starting at 1000 hours and going to 1200 hours, will be Painting with Sue. It's going to be Sue Thatcher. She's one of the local artists here in our community that comes in and teaches techniques to our veterans. You forgot your coffee, didn't you?
No, I spilled. I just want to clean up the spill. Sorry.
That's right. And this coming Thursday, August 18th, it's our Bagels and Brew, which will be taking place here at the Warrior Healing Center. And that's it for my events and everything. Real quick on the Bagels and Brew, are we going to be moving that? Or are we still going to just keep it at monthly for right now?
At this point, it's monthly. It's
the monthly. Okay.
Third Thursdays. So
third Thursday of every month. Yep. And then the first Friday of every month, we have the Fun Food Friday.
Yes.
Okay, good deal. All right, so that's it. Hope to see everybody next Friday morning. Thank you for joining. Have a great weekend. Bye.